Hey guys, welcome to the season premiere of the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I was not even planning for this. I did not even realize this was on tonight. I guess I would say I wasn't really looking so much forward to the Real Housewives of New Jersey because the plot, the storylines, they all have been the same. Like nothing interesting has happened since Teresa has came out from jail and she's now in normal civilian life. I feel like the seasons following that, everything has been so lackluster. Like okay, so this is what happened. I had my dinner and everything set up, and I'm trying to find out what's on for TV tonight to watch. And I see at 8:30 that at 9 o'clock there's gonna be the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'm like, no way, a new season has came out. So I was completely out the loop of that. So I made the choice and say no. Let me do this recap. It's gonna be good. Let's try. I know there's gonna be some new housewives. So we start the episode and we have the scenery of New Jersey. And it's okay, it's nice. New Jersey, out of all the other cities to do the Real Housewives in, I don't know if I'm so inclined to do New Jersey because I feel like they don't really showcase good things to do in New Jersey. I cannot think of, aside from when they go to the boardwalk down at the shore, that was interesting. But aside from that, like, well, what is there to do there? Like, aside of seeing, the homes and everything, I want to know what is there to do in New Jersey. So we get a scenery backdrop of New Jersey, and we get to see actually Teresa and Louis' wedding. And I just remember, oh yeah, they did get married, but that was like forever and a day ago. Like, that is out of my mind. It happened in August 6th, 2022. That's like months and months ago. Like, if that's like the pinnacle of the season, like, of course the season is gonna be geared around this. That's like so long time ago. Like, I moved on from that. Like, come on. So we see the flashback forward into the wedding, and then we see the flashback behind to see all the controversies and the issues that have been happening in the girl group. And I'm like, okay, let's get into it. Recaps are nice, but not so much necessary. I really want to get into see what these girls are up to. And with social media, you kind of see like these events that already had taken place long time ago. Like, I recall seeing Dolores in her baseball outfit and stuff like that. So, and also seeing, Teresa's wedding and all the pictures and about her hair. So I'm not so much excited for it. I feel like the turnaround should have been way much more quicker for sure. And it also gives some kind of like what to look forward into the season already ahead of time. And I'm a little bit fascinated. It's exciting to see when they actually drink and let loose. I like seeing how Dolores and Margaret's husband actually have a close relationship, close friendship, which is cute to see. And we get to see some of the new housewives that I'm interested to see what they're going to bring to the table. But aside from that, we get a quick kind of introduction of what's to expect with the season. So after that, all these recaps and whatnot, we get to see we see a fight with Louis and Joey, and I'm like, not with Namaste Louis. Ain't no way that's gonna happen. I don't know about this, guys. This season, well, let's see. Well, we get into a scene first with Dolores, and she's FaceTiming her daughter. I'm like, no. I'm tired every time these ladies film a scene for the housewives that they have to do a FaceTime with someone and call that a scene. I don't think so. I'm telling you, when we're doing a scene, I want to see location. I want to see ambiance. I want to see what's the vibe giving? What's the outfits, the fashion? Not with them in their home, fashion couture at home fashion, doing a FaceTime about what's going on, what's the update. I need a little bit more from that. I think I'm a little bit too triggered because Real Housewives of Potomac, they had just so many FaceTimes in their final episodes. And I'm like, I am done. I am done with the FaceTiming. Also, mind you, a little backtrack. With the editing, I'm excited to see what this franchise bring with the editing. So that's a little tidbit note that I wanted to add before I get into Dolores' scene. So Dolores is FaceTiming her daughter. And apparently, Dolores was supposed to go on a date yesterday. I'm like, oh no, Dolores, we're not doing this again. I really want her to find love. But this guy is apparently a good guy. His name is Paulie. And he seems to make Dolores light up and shine. And everyone is noticing the positiveness that he's adding to her. But overall, I want to see her happy. So I'm like, I want to see what Polly is giving, because the previous guy, when he did film and he was on the episodes, he showed himself as a genuine nice guy who took care of not only Dolores but her family. But taking care of Dolores meaning that he created a safe space for her. But emotionally, I felt like he wasn't as much invested into her as he was to his work, So we get a jump scene to Melissa and her family in the kitchen. And her husband are talking. And Melissa, she wants to plan a Memorial Day weekend party. Apparently, she loves the 80s. She loves the 80s vibes. And so she wants to kind of do a party surrounding the 80s. And I'm like, okay, we're getting an introduction into Melissa and her family life. So I'm wondering in my mind, what storyline that this one's going to finesse and come up with to carry throughout the whole season. But we get a jump scene back to Dolores. And actually, Dolores says for Melissa's party, because she got an invite to the party, of course, Dolores doesn't have a date to go to the party. And I'm like, damn, Polly, you're already getting a strike one with me already, and we haven't even seen you. But apparently, that's not a big deal for Dolores. Dolores, she's not too complex. She's not too difficult. So she doesn't really pay too much mind to it. So for me, how I'm taking it as a viewer, I'm thinking maybe he doesn't want to film. I mean, the guys who get into the relationships with these women, they don't really sign up or get paid. There's not really much of an incentive to be on the show, because when you get on the show, trust me, all the ladies are going to be into your personal life, get into your personal life and want to know the 411, the details about you and whatnot. So maybe that's the reason why he's not coming to the 80s party that Melissa's throwing. And then we get a jump scene next to Jennifer and her family life. And we see Jennifer with a little boot on her foot. And I'm like, damn, Jennifer, if it's not one thing, it's the next. Something always wrong with you. And, Jennifer's mom feel like that Jennifer has the evil eye on her because all the bad things have been happening to her and to the family. So she feels like she's being targeted in a way. Interesting enough, Jennifer thinks it's Dolores is putting the evil eye on her. But I don't know. I mean, if you felt like your life was perfect and everything, and all of a sudden you around these group of girls and all this bad luck is happening, it's going to make you wonder. It's going to make you wonder. So her mom do what she do to try to get rid of the bad energy around her. But there's so much that you can do. So apparently Jennifer and Dolores, they are no longer friends. Ever since the reunion, they have not only not spoken to each other, but they haven't worked or fixed on anything to progress their friendship. That which is kind of shocking to me, because to me, compared to the other girls, I felt like Dolores had Jennifer's back the most out of all, because I cannot see, maybe Jackie had it for a moment, but at least with what I like about Dolores, she calls out Jackie saying, "Oh, what's your intention of now being nice to her? Like, why all of a sudden you're doing this now?" Dolores is a girl that's like, she's real. Like, I don't see her as being fake. So for Jennifer to be so upset with Dolores, I can understand that Dolores probably said some things that Jennifer didn't want to hear. But I'm surprised that Jennifer even has the guts that she said she's closer to Melissa than to Dolores. I'm like, Melissa don't care about you. Melissa do not care about you. If anything, Melissa's trying to be nice with you to get a little shot, a little jab at Teresa, because Teresa was friends with Jennifer, but Teresa has a lot going on, so Teresa gonna focus on Teresa and Melissa gonna focus on Melissa. But Dolores is a genuine friend, okay? Jennifer, Dolores is a genuine friend. So we get a scene with Melissa, and Melissa is talking to her husband and say how she hasn't spoken to Teresa since the reunion. But even though Teresa doesn't want Melissa to be involved in her wedding, Teresa did invite her to her 50th birthday party. And, Melissa's uninterested, and her husband is uninterested. I'm like, damn. Again, this is going to be the same doggone plot that they're going to continue on for this season. Like, I'm tired. I understand brother and sister don't get along. But, like, y'all doing too much. I'm like, it don't got to be that deep. Like, y'all really letting this show making things worse for y'all. Y'all have kids who watch this. It's like, this is so unnecessary, and also it's embarrassing. Like, one of y'all gotta be the bigger person. And I could understand maybe Joey is tired of being the bigger person because he has done that in the past. And Teresa, she does this thing where she takes advantage when Joey, tries to give it a pass. And Melissa got to see her husband take these shots, so she's going to stand up for her man. So it's like two people going at each other, and there's no winning in the situation. It's only losing. And I was like, when are you guys going to see that? Like, come on. Like, I'm done. So we're now at Teresa's birthday party, and everything is beautiful and sunshine with Teresa's relationship with Louis. She's in her love bubble still, and she gets along with his whole family. Like, she views Louis's sisters as her sisters. So it's like, that's nice. I'm happy for you, because I know Teresa, she's been through a lot. So for her to be accepted, it was important for her to be accepted by his family. Now she has this large blended family. So they're celebrating her birthday, and it's supposed to be everyone's invited, but whoever comes will come. And interesting enough, her brother and her sister-in-law, Joey and Melissa, they did send flowers. Even though they were not attending, they did make it a point to get her flowers for her beautiful day. And then Louis, he stands by his girl. He stands by Teresa. He doesn't like how her brother is acting. And I'm like, nah, you obviously didn't see how this went down the first time. When someone else gets involved in Teresa's and Joe's relationship as brother and sister, it doesn't help. Especially if it's their partners. Like, you see Melissa not helping the situation. You see how Joe Judice didn't help the situation. So why are you, Louis, thinking you're different? I can understand that he come from a mother who's a therapist, by the way. And for him being namaste and like a yogi, I feel like he could contribute. But I feel like he's not contributing from a non-biased standpoint. He's coming in at the situation very, very, very biased. And it's foolish for him to think that, he can give some sort of input and not compromise his friendship, his relationship with Joey, her brother. And we will see this in this episode, which was kind of sad. I feel like that was like the biggest deal of this whole episode, is like seeing how now Louis is no longer the new guy. There's Paulie. So Louis is no longer the new guy, and he's actually saying how he really feels, and not just, being nice because this is our first time meeting. So I thought that this was a very, very, very interesting situation. So, the girls, Teresa's daughters and Louis kids, they gave Teresa a bracelet. And, that was nice and all. Of course, Teresa, she enjoys the gift. But most of all, Teresa said to her daughters that her only wish is to have the girls never to fight like her and her brother. And the sisters are like, sisters are different. And, Teresa says, I wish I had sisters. And I felt bad for her and also for Joey too as well. Because they only have each other and, they should really make things work for the betterment of their whole family and their legacy. You don't want to stop having a relationship with your only sister, especially after your parents passed away. So I feel like both Joey and Teresa should do their part and their parts alone. I don't think the others should get involved, and I don't think that anyone else can help the situation. These two have to really feel like they want to improve in this scenario. So we then see Melissa's roller jam, and I'm like, I remember doing this when I was younger. That was so much fun. And it's even fun because they all dressed up like they're in the 80s. So they're wearing neon and everyone's doing their fashion. And so everyone was invited to this. So we're thinking like, who's going to show up? And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a great moment for everyone on the cast to meet and for us to see some introductions from the new Housewives. So Melissa, her husband, Margaret and her man, Dolores, Frank, and his girlfriend shows up. Jackie and her man, and Teresa and Louis, and then we have the new housewives that come into the show. And we also see a new friend of the show, which is interesting. I want to know how she's gonna play and add to the scenes. And so pretty much they all haven't seen each other since the reunion, which is like, okay, so they only get together when they try to cash a check, when they try to make a check. I feel like, for them to have genuine friendship, I would think that they at least like hung out at least one time throughout this whole time space between the reunion and filming this first episode, but apparently they haven't. So pretty much a lot of people were to the party, but when Teresa and Louis came into the party, everyone was like not so welcoming. They gave her like a basic hello, like a guest, like a friend of, like not someone that they have known for a long time, which is weird. And so we then meet the new housewife, Danielle. And when she introduced herself, I'm like, a Danielle. I mean, every time we think of Danielle, I think of the Danielle, the Danielle of the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I don't think this franchise could take a Danielle, but I want to see how this one holds up because she's friends with she's actually friends with Teresa. So I'm like, okay, Teresa's collecting all the Danielles as friends now. So Jennifer, she comes to the party and she's avoiding Dolores like the plague. And it's just so weird because I'm like I said, I feel like Jennifer, Dolores was your friend. Like, even if you don't like what she had to say, she was your friend out of all the other girls. So Jennifer is offended how her friend Dolores treated her at the reunion. And I feel like Dolores just kept it real with you, girl. You couldn't handle it, but she kept it real 100 with you. But, as I watched like the recap of their beef, it's like this happened forever ago. Why is it such a big deal now? Like, I don't want this to be the storyline. Like, are we legit gonna talk about the reunion on this episode where it's supposed to be like, what's going on now? Let's move forward and stuff like that. It's like I don't want this to be dragged. Like, that's the last thing. Like, it makes the show feels inauthentic because I'm supposed to feel like the reunion happens, but then you move on from that, and then what's going on now is what happens. Your day-to-day life and your interaction with these girls. Not like, I feel like maybe these girls don't even hang out with each other. The only time they hang out with each other is when they're trying to cash a check, make a check with the Bravo production company. And that's why they can only talk about that. Because if they were real friends, they will be able to talk about other scenarios of what's going on, or been able to move past by this long time ago. Not when they're trying to film. Like, come on. So Melissa Friends comes to the party and we meet the new housewife, Rachel. I'm like, ooh, Rachel. Who's Rachel? And her entrance, it wasn't too dramatic. You know, she's new. She's the new girl. But I was the most excited when Polly came through. No, not when Polly went through. When the group was sitting together and they were talking about Polly. And I'm like, yes, is he coming? Is he coming? Maybe he has a change of heart. But Frankie and his girlfriend and Dolores, you know, they're like sitting there together and they say, oh, we're so happy for Dolores that she has a new man. But, you know, Frankie, he has to be all tough and macho and say, yeah, he's all tough. But until he's around his sister, he's weak. He's like soft and everything. And Dolores, she's like, come on, please stop. That's how brothers and sisters should be anyway. So she's like, nah. And then that kind of segues over to her mentioning to Joey that, you know, you need to work on your relationship with your sister, and you can't, like, you know, brothers and sisters fight, but you guys can get through this. You guys only have each other. I feel like that's a common theme that always happens, is that their role is to always kind of focus on Teresa and Joe's relationship as brother and sister. So finally, Teresa talks to Margaret. So surprisingly enough, Teresa, she invites Margaret to come to her house. And Margaret is so funny. I kind of miss their friendship. Margaret is funny. She's like, why you want to invite me? You want to bury me in the backyard? Because, you know, they didn't have such a good, you know, ending, especially after the reunion. And, you know, Teresa, she recognizes how her behavior was so ugly and that she is actually going to see a counselor to work through this and become better. Margaret is still hesitant, but, you know, she jokes how, you know, she will come, she'll make an effort. And in her confessional, what's interesting is that, you know, Teresa, she knows that Margaret would never skip a meal. That's why she offered for her to come to her house to have lunch. So we'll see. I feel like, you know, Teresa, she's very stubborn. So I feel like, you know, she's not going to make this step and extend herself first if she's not going to try in her own way, of course, to make things work, you know. So we'll see. You know, she's going through counseling. So for someone to open up about going to counseling to someone else that they have an issue with, I would give them at least a bit of a chance, you know. So I felt like in this episode, especially in the scene in the roller jam party that Melissa's hosting, there was a lot of hi, like everyone was saying hi. You know, the space looks big and it's not really, you know, honestly, I like when they film scenes in small spaces because it forces all the people to be together and address things and move forward. I feel like when you do it in such a large venue like the roller skating arena, these ladies, they separate, they go to each corner to isolate themselves, and so for filming purposes that can be quite difficult. So I felt like in every new scene is like hi and introducing each other, and I was so annoyed with that. But finally Dolores, you know, she gets the girls together. And the reason, even because Jennifer was dodging her, Jennifer didn't want to talk to Dolores. But Dolores, she got all the girls together to invite the girls for a charity event to take do a sexy photo shoot, kind of like the fireman calendar shoot. So she wants to do this version of this with the husbands, and that includes even Jennifer. And that kind of ticks Jennifer off, that, oh, the reason you want to come talk to me is because you want a favor from me. And I'm like, wow, Jennifer is sad. Honestly, she's sad that she no longer have her friend, because I think she knows that how close she was with Dolores, and how much, because that's why she's hurt. So I feel like, I think Jennifer wants to be talked to, but I feel like she has to feel comfortable, and she doesn't. I see you, Jennifer. You're trying, but it's hard. So we get to meet, we meet Danielle and Teresa's friend at the party a little bit more, but we don't see so much from her as of yet. These girls, they gotta learn the environment really quickly. these cameras, they're a lot to keep up with. But it's just interesting for me that for the girls, they have so much issues that shouldn't be issues. So Danielle, when we see her in her scene, she's with her family, and I'm like, hold up. Danielle is a control freak. Are you kidding me? I felt like, I actually love their scene, the scene with her family. But her introduction, I can see why they want her as a housewife. She's a control freak. She micromanages when her husband is trying to help raise the kids. I'm like, let that man comb his kids' hair. Like, let him dress the kid. Like, come on. You don't have to do so much. I don't know. She was nervous, or this is how she normally is. But I think this is how she normally is, because even her husband says, oh, watch me do your hair. And then your mother corrects it the same way how I have it done. So it must be a normal thing. So interesting enough, when these new housewives, they come to the show, they don't realize how much bickering they do and see how they fight. And watching it replay, I want to see if they will work to move forward, or if this will be, unfortunately, a demise to their union. So her kids are funny. Her kids are super funny. They're hilarious. They were roasting mom, and they're making fun of dad, asking him to do the boob flex thing. I love that. I was like, this is such a great first scene. Solo scene for them. Like, this is amazing. I am actually looking forward for more from Danielle. So, Teresa has a little pep talk with her man. She says, Teresa wants Margaret to apologize. But then we also see a scene with Margaret and her man, and Margaret's like, I want Teresa to apologize. So they each want one or the other to take ownership of their role. And the husbands are coaching their partners. I already call Louis her husband because they already married. By the time we watching this, they married. That's her husband. And so the husbands are coaching their wives as if it was like a fight. I'm like, what is this fight night? This is not no fight night. It's just lunch. Just lunch. Lunch, maybe. I don't know. Should had lunch been at a neutral location, like at a restaurant? Because the lunch is taking place in Teresa's home, so she has home turf advantage, okay? But I felt like it being in her home makes it a little bit more genuine, a little bit more sincere, because here I am preparing a meal for you in my space, in my sanctuary, as opposed to going to, the general public where, I could throw stuff at you and not care if it gets broken, So I think it's okay. I think Margaret, she took the invite. She's not going by herself. She's going with her husband, so she should be good. She should be safe, And okay, so pretty much in this talk, Teresa, she didn't like how the rumors were being platformed and hurting her partner. And Teresa, she tries to, tried to tell her that, she's been working on herself, and how she doesn't like how the situation went down. And she's a little bit accusatory at first. And then her man had to kind of coach her to say, wait. Let Margaret talk. Let Margaret talk. You're doing too much. And she tells Margaret that she's been going to a counselor, and this has really apparently has affected her. And, Margaret, she's receiving, but, she's a little bit hesitant about it. And Margaret, I don't know from her how she's talking. I'm like, this moment is about you. She goes ahead and she brings up how Teresa has issues with other people. But right now, this conversation is not about the other people. It's about our issues together. Your issues with Margaret, Margaret's issues with Teresa, Teresa's issue with Margaret. That's what should it be about. That's why she invited you to her home. So I felt like, oh, they're not going to make up because she seems to be siding with other people, and she doesn't seem too open about it. I didn't like in this scene how Louis called Melissa insecure. And you see Margaret's eye do did you really just say that? I'm shocked. And I'm like, this is going to be reported right back to Melissa. And this guy is going to be no longer loved or want to be protected by the crew, So I'm like, Louis, why would you set yourself up for that? Why would you say that? I'm like, Teresa, too, you should know better than that Margaret was going to say that to Melissa eventually. Like, come on. And, Teresa, she recovers this, and I feel like this is how she recovered, because Teresa says that Margaret's always going to have a special place for her, and she doesn't want to fight with her because of what Margaret did generally to help her heal from the death of Teresa's mom. So she will never forget that. And she says she's being as raw as a cucumber. She's raw. She as raw as a cucumber, okay? When she said that and she made up her own analogy, I'm like, this girl is serious. Like, she is serious, okay? So she apologizes to Margaret and invites Margaret and her husband to the wedding. And, of course, Margaret's not going to miss a party. She's not going to miss a party. Who's going to miss a party? I'm not going to miss a party. If my enemy says there's a wedding, I'm going to show up, girl. I'm going to hate on you at the wedding. So now we get to Dolores' calendar shoot. So all the husbands got to pose. Once a husband come in, they're changing his outfits. They're making him pose. And we see Jen Fessler enter the building. And I'm like, okay, we seen her a lot. Is she the friend for this season? And what is she going to contribute, She seems cool because she was able to talk. She's able to talk to all the girls as if she was cool with all the girls. She does have loyalties to Margaret, but I feel like she's easily able to, talk and receive the other girls. So I'm going to keep my eyes on you, Fessler, okay? So at the calendar shoot, Margaret tells Melissa and Joe how Teresa made up and apologized. And they're like, so shocked. But, I felt like she could have left it as that. Because, that would have given indication to Melissa and to Joey that, okay, she's trying to be nice. Like, she's turning onto a new leaf. But Margaret goes ahead and tells her that Louis called her insecure. And it's because Melissa was telling everyone not to talk about Louis. And Teresa, no, and Melissa was like, what? Insecure. And her husband even was offended. She's like, who's calling my wife insecure? As he should, And that, Margaret did also say that the reason why Teresa's mad at you guys is because y'all didn't stick up for her more. And Melissa said, I did. Me telling everyone not to talk about Louis is not me being insecure. That's me sticking up for Teresa. But it's an issue now. If it was an issue before, it's a big issue now. So I was like, oh no, that's not good. That's gonna be the plot of the season, apparently. Well, actually, it is, because the whole season is gonna be centered around the wedding, who's gonna get invited, and we already know. Because social media has let us know who actually showed up for the wedding, and we already hear everyone else's side on social media, so it's no surprise. It's pretty much we're watching how we got to that point and what happens in between then and today to today. And so, yes, finally, Mr. Paul comes in the building. But unfortunately, Frank is at the hospital. And Frank was just saying that, when I'm going to meet Paulie, how come I never get to see Paulie? Paulie always want to hang out with you. How come you never want to hang out with us? And funny enough, Dolores, she stands on her feet and say, that's how it should be, actually. Because her previous partner, was so into the family but not into Dolores, and this one is all into Dolores, but Frank wants to see him. So when Mr. Paul comes into the building, everyone is so welcoming. I'm like, he's the new Louis, guys. He's the new Louis Vuitton. And everyone is welcoming to Paulie. And, from what it seems like, he's different, because he said to Dolores, and Dolores is reporting to us, she's like, he came up to her and says, if you want me to be my boyfriend, you have to let me help you. And Dolores was like, oh, no one has ever offered help. Like, she's the one that's always helping others, and for someone to help her. Ooh, Mr. Paul. So far, so good, Mr. Paul. And so then we get into a little scene with Jennifer talking to Rachel and the girls. And Jennifer, she started to step at Rachel a little bit. And I feel like Rachel, she's the new housewife. And she's like kind of learning. This is a learning curve for her. And Rachel's trying to give her feedback. And I'm like, Rachel, you getting into drama that already hashed out on the show. You wasn't even on it at that time. You can't really comment on it, because if you comment on it, you kind of look like a fan a little bit. So that's a little bit weird. And Jennifer, she's actually becoming uncomfortable, and feeling kind of like she's kind of like getting into her head. She feels like she came to Dolores' event, and Dolores is like not even saying anything to her at all at the party. Like, she hasn't even talked, haven't even address her. So Dolores, she sees what's going on. She sees what's happening in her party, and she goes to Jennifer and says, Jennifer, come to the side. Let's talk. Me and you. I'm like, that's what I like about Dolores. She's not going to play you in front of an audience. She's going to pull you to the side, talk to you to the side. And then we see a little moment with Rachel again, having an issue with the previous housewives. So Jackie is no longer a housewives, guys. She's a friend of, and she took that position as a friend of, which is good to see. I don't like when they ask them to be friend of after being a housewife, that they say, I quit. I ain't doing this. So Jackie, in the conversation with the girls, she calls out Rachel, saying that you have not once made eye contact with me, and that's just social skills. Miss Jackie wasn't having that. I'm like, okay, Jackie, you can read her a little bit. And Rachel's like, I'm new. I'm the new girl. This is all new for me. So I'm like, oh, Rachel. We did see some preview of how Rachel and Jackie get into it some more. I'm like, Jackie, you want her spot now? You want your spot back? We'll see. And so we're back to Jennifer and Dolores on their 1-to-1. And, Jennifer calls out Dolores and say, she's not nice. You're not a friend. You have never been a friend. You're two-faced. And, that sets off Dolores. She's like, no. So she's like, no, you're not nice. You don't know how to be a friend. And it's a whole blowout. And, Jennifer, when it gets hot, she can't stay in the kitchen, y'all. She got to pack her things up, and with her little boot on and scoot. And, of course, her husband, is gonna scoop her up and take her, and they're leaving the party. And Dolores is like, yeah, you leaving the party? That's what you do? You just gonna leave the party? And she calls Dolores an old handbag. I'm like, that's not nice, Jennifer. You can't call her an old handbag. She don't give old handbag. Not at all. So that was the episode, guys. And I don't know. How would I rate it? It wasn't doing too much. I felt like too much talk about the reunion that was so long ago. So I do think it's gonna be a little bit. Let me give it a 7.3. Okay, 7.3, because I feel like Louis, even though he's not, I don't know if he's getting paid for this. They say the Housewives in New Jersey's husbands, they get paid, but I don't know if he got paid for this. But he is adding a new dimension in this conflict with Teresa and Joey, and him calling Melissa insecure. I'm like, damn. Now Melissa and Joey gotta respond to that. What else is interesting? I guess the new Housewives. I'm fascinated. I'm very interested to get to see what else they contribute to the episodes, the coming up episodes. So that will be nice. From Jennifer, Jennifer and Dolores, they need to settle this and be done with this, because I'm tired of that. Let's see. Am I missing anybody? Let's see. Margaret, you need a plot. You need a storyline. I need you a storyline that's not involving your issue with Teresa, because y'all squashed it, but I feel like y'all keep going back to that because it's very easy to do and easy to, make a scene out of. Like, I don't want to see no other dishes being thrown to the floor about y'all friendship. I'm done with that. We're done. So, yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this recap. It was unexpected for me, for sure. I want to know what you guys think of this premiere of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. What would you give it? I'm curious. Let me know. Well, if you like this episode of this recap, please like and share with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe. I enjoy doing these recaps for you guys, and I look forward to recapping more shows in the future. So take care and have a good night. Bye-bye.